Paul, thank you, Paul, by the way, for leading us through River Ticker. Paul didn't want to spoil it, but if you were to turn to Matthew 25, verses 14 to 30, we're going to read a parable that this is going to kind of relate to. So if you will, there are Bibles on your table. It's on page 677. Or if you have it in your app on your phone, well, you probably know what page it's in there. All right, so this is called the parable of the bag of gold. So a lot of times in previous translations, it's been referred to as talents. In the NIV, it's referred to as bags of gold. So that's the way it's going to come out as we read this in the NIV, Matthew 25, verses 14 to 30. And following along, it says, "Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. 'Master,' he said, 'you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more.' His master replied, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness.' The man with 2 bags of gold also came. 'Master,' he said, 'you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more.' His master replied, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness.' Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. 'Master,' he said, 'I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and I hid your gold in the ground. So here is what belongs to you.' His master replied, 'You wicked and lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." All right, so we basically just lived out this parable, investing our bags of gold, if you will. And if you put this into today's context, it's kind of like bigger, better, faster, stronger. Isn't that the model that we live in today in all of society? Is bigger, better, faster, stronger. And yet, Jesus chooses to use this as an example of kingdom living. So is this a financial story? Or is there something deeper going on? Is this a story about the gifts, the talents, or skills that we have? Or is there something deeper going on? So I would like to invite you to turn back to Matthew 24, where we're going to learn the context for our parable. As we've been doing our interactive services, we have often stressed that each parable is within a context, and we need to understand the context in order to decipher, to decode the parable. So Matthew 24, found on page 676. I'm just going to cover the highlights. I'm not going to read it all. And I'm going to start with verse 3. It says, "As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. 'Tell us,' they said, 'what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?' And then Jesus gives them warnings about the coming end and persecution. That's verses 4 through 35. And then he states that no one will know when the end will come. So what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? He states no one will know when the end will come. And then he tells 3 stories, and he tells 3 parables. The first story, verses 36 to 41, is the story of Noah, and nobody knows when the flood was coming, except for Noah. Then in verses 42 to 44, the second story here is about the owner of a house that does not know when a thief may try to enter. And the third story is about servants who either take care of the owner's possessions or squander the owner's possessions, warning that the servants do not know the hour of the master's return. So that's the 3 stories. And then there are 3 parables. Matthew 25, verse 1. This first parable concerns 10 foolish or wise ladies who await the arrival of the bridegroom. Do they or do they not manage their oil reserves well to make it through the night? And Jesus finishes this parable with saying, keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour of the bridegroom's arrival. And then our parable, this parable of the bags of gold, occurs. And what are you going to do with what you have when the master has given you? And this story ended with the one servant weeping and gnashing his teeth. He had not been diligent with what the master had given him. So my question to you is, what is the theme that is running through all of these stories and parables thus far? What would you say? What are the themes, Leslie? The unknown. Not knowing when the end will come. All right. Is there anything else going on in here? Is there another? That's true, what Leslie said, but I think there's one more theme in there. Be prepared. Yeah? Being active. All right. So be present to what the Lord has given you. Be active. Every time there's these things that are happening. We don't know when the end will come. And we're asked to be prepared. We're asked to be diligent. We're asked to be present to what God has given us. Paul's going to lead us in another activity that's going to take it from here and give it a little more context and meaning. So, Paul.
All right, folks. Thanks, Dale. So we have another activity for us to do quickly at our tables. So if you flip over your river ticker page, you'll see something that is maybe familiar in your houses, certainly in our family. This is something that we use, something that looks a lot like this. But it's a weekly planner, and it for us helps us to just kind of get our head around what's coming up this week and who's doing what in our house. And to begin with this exercise, which is going to be just a brief one, we wanted you to, at your tables, take just 2 or 3 minutes and very quickly, just all together, go through this calendar and say, on Mondays, just to say, I've got this happening, this happening, this happening. And just collectively fill out a table calendar of all that's coming up this week that you can think of, whether it's work or dropping the kids off at school, or I've got, piano lessons or an evening meeting or whatever might be happening, things that you can think of that are coming up this week. Just take 2 or 3 minutes and share at your tables what you've got coming up this week. And then just put a hand up when you've got that filled in, friends. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for taking part in that activity and for sharing with each other what's coming up in your week. And before I offer this reflection, I want to encourage you to do this. If you feel comfortable sharing this at your tables, I'd like to encourage you to actually take a quick snapshot of these calendars at your tables and take them home with you so that you have a reminder and a prompt this coming week of everything that's coming up with your friends, whether they're new friends or old friends, this coming week as a reminder and a prompt to be able to pray for each other. And it's with this in mind So we just had this conversation that Pastor Dale began about the parable of the talents, and how the servants of the master invested the master's talents. And I wanted to offer this this possible idea that this is a conversation about stewardship, and how we're tasked to steward the things, the opportunities that God gives us each and every day to invest what we have been put in charge of. And so with this scripture in mind from Colossians 3. So this is what Paul says in Colossians 3. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, working for the Lord and not for human masters, since you know that you'll receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It's the Lord Christ that you're serving. So with these calendars in front of us, I wonder if we can think about these as more than just to-do lists, but as opportunities to see ourselves investing in the growth of God's kingdom in small and large ways. So whether it's driving someone to school, whether it's going to work, whether it's shopping for groceries, how might God's kingdom grow in all of those large and small ways? So I want to leave that with you, friends, as we move on with our interactive service here. That's Colossians 3, verses 23 and 24.
We are going to read one more parable to pull all of this together. I invite you to turn to Matthew 25, and we're going to be reading verses 31 to 46. 31 to 46. This one is called The Sheep and the Goats. And really, this is the last parable of the 3 and the 3 that Jesus talks about when he's trying to answer the question that the disciples have asked, when will the end come? This is his last story that he's telling in answer to that question. And it reads like this, verse 31, Matthew 25. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. And all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" And in essence, they are saying, "We don't remember seeing you." And then the king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me." They also will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick or in prison, and that we didn't help you?" And the king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for the least of these, you did not do for me." Then they will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. All right, sobering parable, sobering story. But what are the tasks that were rewarded as doing what the master wanted? What are the tasks? Let's just name them off. What did they do? Say it out loud. They fed the hungry, clothed the naked. They what? Doubled the money. Oh, you're going to the bag of gold. Got it. Doubled the money. Yep. Visited in prison. thirsty and gave them something to drink? Sick or in prison and visited them? Stranger and greeted them. Excellent. So, John picked up on it, but is there a correlation between these three parables about the rationing of the oil reserves, of managing the gold that was given to them, and these rewarded activities? Is there a correlation between all of these? What are you picking up? Don't squander your gifts. Yes. Give it to the right people. Heaven. Oh, you're going to heaven and hell. That's often where we go to with the last parable. Yes. But is there a correlation between all of them? Yeah. You're seeing the correlation of heaven and hell between all three parables, and okay. Stewardship of gifts and servanthood, serving others. Waiting for the master. All right. I'm liking it. The phrase I came up with, and you've added to it certainly, is be diligent with what the Lord has given you to be present. Be present. Paul talked about it already. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord and not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ that you are serving. So, Paul, let's wrap this up with one more activity, and let's pull the bowstrings nice and tight together.
So, friends, we've been talking about this idea of being present and stewarding the moments and the opportunities that God has given us to further God's kingdom purposes. There's an image, there's a metaphor that is woven throughout Scripture, Old and New Testament, that is a very helpful one for a healthy faith life. We know that our faith life is healthy based on this metaphor, this image. Does anyone know what that image is? There's an image that's common in the Old and New Testament. Does anyone have that image in their mind? A healthy faith life that's growing? Oh, who said it? Okay, nice, Nate. Extra points for you. Yes, a fruit tree. That's right. A tree that's firmly planted, that's bearing fruit. That's exactly right. So that's the evidence that we have in our life when we look at the activities that we've done today about how we invest our time and these opportunities that we have throughout the week to see God's kingdom come in large and small ways. How do we know that the time that we're investing and the ways that we're investing our time are helping to bring God's kingdom closer or helping to shape us into the likeness of Christ? And it's that our lives are, just like Nate said, bearing fruit. And what is that fruit? Does anyone know what Galatians 5 says is the fruit that we bear when our lives are connected to Christ? Can anyone name the fruits of the Spirit? Okay. I'm amazed, everyone. Yes. Good stuff. So yes, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control are the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians. And so you don't even need what we're going to give you next, but we're going to give it to you anyhow. So we have just a gift to send with you today. And this is just something to be able to, you can put it on your fridge, you can use it as a bookmark. But as you think about this week that is coming up, or the weeks that are coming up, this weekly planner that we filled in, these opportunities that we have in large and small ways to plug in and steward the opportunities that God has given us, these are the fruits of the Spirit that we want to be watching for. How are these growing in our lives? And maybe to think to ourselves, is this a week where maybe I could focus a little bit on patience? Maybe patience is waning for me this week. Maybe it's self-control that's waning for me a little bit this week. Maybe I'm on my, third Dairy Queen Blizzard in 4 days, and it's just okay. Self-control is just maybe not where it's at for me, this week. And those are the fruits of the Spirit that we want to be able to sort of think. All right, where can I invest my time, or how can I invest my energy to see that fruit begin to grow on the tree of my life? So take these with you, friends, and just add these to this lesson that we're learning today about how we are bringing about God's kingdom in our lives in large and small ways.
All right, once again, thank you, Paul. You've all received a token to take home with you as to an application of the things that we've been learning today. Thinking back over Matthew 24 and 25, we see the impetus for Jesus telling these 3 stories and these 3 parables. Jesus was challenging his disciples to not worry about the end times. You will know when you will know. And Jesus' teachings encourage us to focus on the present, to live out his kingdom now, here and now. So reflecting back on your week of activities, what will you be doing and with whom? What fruit will you be employing in any of these activities that you have planned for the week? Is there any activity that you might encounter where it's going to cause you to gnash your teeth or cause you to weep? Let me tell you about driving the other day. I know you've heard driving stories before, but here I am driving along, and suddenly this guy cuts me off, and he goes all the way over, and then they come back in, and they cut, and I'm going, grr, I'm starting to gnash my teeth, and then finally, one more time, they back into the lane, and I just want to cry at that point. So what fruit do you think I need? Patience. Anybody else want to offer a different fruit for me to use? Self-control. Oh my goodness. Any others? Peace. All right, so good example, I think, of we have these fruits within us. We have these gifts that have been given to us. We can rely on these. So when you get into a point of gnashing your teeth or wanting to cry, just bite into that fruit. What can you do differently this week to spur on growth for any of these gifts? One of my common phrases is blessed to bless. That's the posture where we invest in others. This has been Matthew 24 and 25. 3 stories, 3 parables to tell us about when the end will come, not, but how to be living into the kingdom given to us here now.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this recording. Just a reminder that you can find our website at rivercommunity.ca. There you can find our events calendar with information about upcoming messages and gatherings, or sign up for currents. Feel free to send us a message on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Our services start 10 o'clock Sunday mornings, and you are welcome to come early for coffee, tea, and bagels. Have a great week. Bye-bye.